Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go through another 10-minute video about a property of area called centroid. Okay, let's start out with a simple rectangular shape, and let's put it on a two-dimensional axis, X and Y. Okay, let's say has a width of A and then a height of B. Okay, now where is the centroid of this shape? And it's not very hard to figure out that the centroid of the rectangle is simply going to be A over 2 comma B over 2 because it's doubly symmetric. And now what if we have a generic shape like this? Say a random shape. Now, what do we have to do to find out the geometric center of this random piece? Okay. All right. We can first put it in the mathematical terms. In x-axis, the centroid is simply going to be the integral of x with respect to a divided by a. A is the area of the shape. Okay. Similarly, for y, we're going to take the integral of y dA over a. Okay. Now, this is not going to give us a solution without the actual function of this shape. However, we can break up this shape into a finite number of pieces. Okay. Let's say we break it up to 3 pieces, and I want to name it A1, A2, and A3. Okay? And I'm going to assume the geometric center of these 3 pieces are in the middle, in the mid-height of each of the 3. Okay? This is just an assumption. Alright? I'm going to call this Y1, Y2, and Y3. Okay, let me make this a little more clear. Okay. Now what? I'm going to calculate in y-axis first. It's simply going to be equal to A1 y1 plus A2 y2 plus A3 y3. Okay, all 3 pieces over A1 plus A2 plus A3. Okay. Now realize that the centroid of each piece is inaccurate, but if you break up this piece more and more, let's say we break it up into 1,000 pieces, it's going to get to very close to the real solution. Okay? Alright, so that's the general solution. What if we have a more defined shape? Now let's look at a T shape, for example. I'm just going to randomly define one. I'm going to say the bottom width is 12 inches. The thickness of the bottom piece is 3 inches. Height of the web, let's call it 8 inches. And the width of the web, let's say 3 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to break it up into 2 pieces. I'm going to say this is number 1 and this is number 2. Okay. Alright. We're going to start out by listing the properties of the 2 pieces. Number 1, number 2. First is the area. Alright. Let's look at number 1. The area is simply 3 multiplied by 12 is 36 square inches. And for number 2, that is 3 inches multiplied by 8 inches. That is 24 square inches. Okay? And what about the y sub I? Now I'm going to simply define my axis here and y over here. Okay? Now realize that the centroid of the first piece is right here. The height of this little piece is going to be 3 inches over 2. Okay? For the second piece, now let's drag it over here. This height, this is y2, is, let's move it down here. Y2 is simply going to be 3 inches, the thickness of the bottom piece, plus 8 inches divided by 2. That's going to give us 7 inches. Alright? So we can put 1.5 here, inch, and then 7 inch here in this table. Now the final thing we want to do is get the product of those two things. Alright? And I'm going to use a calculator for it. The first one is 54. And then the second one is 168. And the unit is inch to the third power. Okay. Now let's run the equation again. What do we came up with? Okay. We're going to use this general equation to calculate the y sub c of this T shape. Okay. Which is a1, y1 plus a2, y2 divided by a1 plus a2. Okay. That's going to give us 54 plus 168. We already calculated those two. Alright. Divided by 36 plus 24. Alright, let's run that through real quick. 54 plus 168 divided by 36. 168 divided by 36 plus 24. And that is 3.7 inches. Okay? So that's the solution of this problem. Similarly, if you have any other shape, you could use this method, divide it up into a few manageable shapes, and then use this equation to calculate the centroid of these locations. Now, for practice purposes, I'm going to give you a problem to work with. And here we have a box shape, and it's hollow in the middle. And the dimension of this box shape is 12 by 18. The thickness of the web is 0.5 inches. The thickness of the top flange is 1.5 inches. Bottom flange is 4 inches. Okay. The question is to calculate the centroid in y-axis. Okay. We're gonna be using the same equation we talked about today, and in the next video we'll go through the solutions. Okay. Now, if you like the video, please click the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.